most men think that they need more time in order to get in shape, train hybrid, and do the do, but actually you just need a better system because when we think about it, as you get older and when you get into more adult life, you start to acquire more things. You start a family, start to climb the corporate ladder, or start a business, and things just keep compounding. And probably until the day that you retire, which is at this point, I don't know, probably in your mid 70s, which is not a good trade off. So we can't rely on time to drive us forward when we're looking to get in shape. And that's why in this video, I want to walk you through what I coin the operating system, which is a system that I've used personally and I've used with hundreds of clients, help them run like runners, look like lifters, get lean, fast, strong, and fit without it taking away from their lifestyle. So let me bring it over to my iPad. So as I said here, like you don't need more time, even though you think you do. You just need a better system because that very famous quote of "we all have the same 24 hours in a day" is in fact true. Do we have the same 24 hours to do what we want? Absolutely not. And this is where I'm going to be referring back to the way that you're thinking about the way you should do things now compared to what you used to do, where actual fact you have to change that as well. So in this video, I want to basically reframe your thinking around when it comes to hybrid training and when it comes to getting in shape. So if you are new here, you're probably thinking, who the hell is this guy and why should I listen to him? So I'm this is me, young me, skinny fat, in the worst shorts I've ever seen and a DC cap back in the day. And I run the founders. I'm the founder of the Hybrid Project, so I help guys run like runners, look like lifters, and I've done it. So I've done anything from bodybuilding, Hyrox, marathons. I've done it all. I've got a family, I've got a business, and I've been successful with balancing all of them things and continue to do so to this date. And I'm also someone who not only walks the walk, but I also teach people to do exactly that. So here is a few pictures of some of the things that I've done with guys. My mission with men is to help them be better men, is to help them turn up better, is to help them balance things, have more purpose. And that's exactly what I've done over the last 8 years of coaching. So here's some of my clients with myself doing some crazy events from Copenhagen Marathon, Barcelona Marathon, Hyrox abroad, right the way down to a general 5 and 10K. So what I mean by this is you need to start thinking about the new way of doing things compared to the old way, because what I mean about the old way is that you're not 20 anymore. So what you did when you were 20, you can't be doing now because ultimately things have changed. And this is something that I speak about all the time with guys, is that they constantly refer back to the time when you were the most on it, which is usually when they've got loads of time and no responsibilities. You know, I was that guy who used to train 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. I was jacked. I was, probably the fittest, not the fittest, sorry, the best that I've ever looked, but I was nowhere the fittest I've ever been. And, what I was doing in my early 20s quickly didn't work later on in life when I started to have a family. I started to build a business, and ultimately adulting started to become on board. So you're not 20 anymore. You haven't got 14 hours a week to train. You don't want the results of a bodybuilder anymore. You actually just want to feel better, look better, perform better, and do all of them things. So we need to start looking at things a different way. And the new way is simply this. We want to break things down into progress. Men want to progress. That's the whole point of, I think, fulfillment, is that men want to see progression in what they do because that's what we are born to do. We want to see progression in our fitness, in our work, in our career, etc. We also want to perform. So we want to be able to not only look good, but we want to perform well in, do a 5K when asked, do a Hyrox if someone asked you, go for a hike, lift the kids up, lunge down to pick up the baby, like whatever it is, we want to do that. And we also want to have the energy for other stuff. So we want to be able to have energy outside of fitness for when you get home from work and you want to play with the kids and settle down with the missus, or if you are building a business or climbing that corporate ladder, you want to have the energy to actually fulfill that. Because a lot of the guys I speak to is that when they start their fitness journey, they think that they have to go all in on that and all these other areas just get taken away, which is simply not the case. And that's for another video, but that's what I coined the triple F flywheel. So right now you're probably thinking, well, if I can't train like I did when I was 20, what am I going to do? Which leads to constantly feeling that overwhelmed. Well, how am I meant to do this? I just can't seem to crack the code. Maybe you've tried it many times where you've trained for 2 weeks, got really motivated, fell off a cliff, and then you wonder, like, how is this actually possible with what's going on? One guy I spoke to, and this really sticks in my mind, is that I won't be able to do that until I'm 18 when the kids grow up. I'm like, that is absolutely bonkers. Whereas this whole point of this educational video is to help you do this right now. So when you're overwhelmed, that leads to confusion, like how the hell am I meant to do it, which makes you overthink things. What's the right way? You start to look into different videos and people, and that just leads to more overwhelm and loads of noise, which leads to lack of clarity, which leads to lack of confidence because you've got no clarity, which leads to no action, and ultimately leads to no results because you don't create any action to get any results because you're paralyzed by noise, which is, again, I've seen it, I've been there, trust me. Whereas you right now is probably here where you're lacking clarity, which means that you don't actually know what you need to do to get where you need to get to, which means that you ultimately lack motivation because it's very difficult to be motivated to do something when you don't know how to do it. It's like me saying to you, like, right now, let's go and drive to, I don't know, Bulgaria. You know, you don't know how long it's going to take, what you need to get there, how much it's going to cost, what's that, all these sorts of things. Where if I go, right, you put that into Waze, it's going to take X amount of hours, this much petrol, blah, 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 blah. You create a GPS. So you're lacking motivation, which leads to ultimately no action because you can't get going, you can't get that car started, which leads to, sadly, no results. And this is what I call the negative feedback loop, and that's why it's obviously in red. Whereas the future you, the you after this call, after this video, is the green positive cycle, whereas you have clarity. And this is what the operating system is all about. It's about creating clarity because when you've got clarity with what you're doing, you just perform so much better. So clarity leads to motivation. Why? Because you actually know now why you're doing what you're meant to be doing, what you need to do to get that 10 kilos of fat loss, what you need to do to run the half marathon, what you need to what your split looks like, what your structure looks like. You're motivated to do it, which leads to action, which obviously leads to results. So we want to try and stay in this cycle as much as possible, and this is what the operating system is all about, which I'll walk you through in a second. So this is taken from one of my offer documents. So again, if you hit the link in the description, DM me the message project, I can fire this straight off, which walks you through exactly what I do, how all this looks, the price included, all of that. Just DM me project on Instagram and I'll send it over. But this is taken from that document, which is basically, it's to help stop one simple thing, and is overwhelm. So we break things down massively from macro milestones, so like what are the big picture outcomes. So a lot of the guys I speak to go, I want to get in shape. It's my job to go, what does in shape look like? What does that look like from how much weight you need to lose, or what direction should we go in? That's what the big picture looks like. And then we break that down into micro milestones. So we call this like 30-day targets. You break that big goal down into more manageable chunks, which again stops the overwhelm, and you have a short focus to aim for every single week and every single month. So most men struggle because they try and do 100 things at once, especially with this hybrid training that's came about. It's something that I train. I train multiple different avenues, but they try and run as much as possible, lift as much as possible, do mobility, do Hyrox, do conditioning, and they're wondering, where am I going to find the time and where am I going to find the energy to actually do it all? So you try and do everything at once, which is not the way to do it. Again, they skip steps, they don't build a solid foundation, and they end up losing momentum. And then they stay quiet in communities, or when they do join your stuff, they don't get involved in things. You stay in their head, which is the Hybrid Project is a community for men who have access to me and access to each other to bounce ideas off, be a shoulder to speak on, arm around, kick up the arse, whatever you need. You get stuck in your own head, so you just about like getting clarity on what you're actually doing is what we're sort of after. And this is what's helped these guys. It's a very small picture, but Mark dropped over 30 kg, ran his first half marathon. Josh lost over 50 kg, about to run a second half marathon in Lisbon, different country. Mike, the same thing. These are all dads. We've got Dave, who's an absolute animal. We've got Leon, who's a business owner. We've got Mark, who works for Liverpool. We've got Adam Rose, comedian, is the busiest guy I've ever met. We've got Tom, who's an absolute animal. We've got Martin, who runs a supercar dealership. We've got Adam as well, who's a dad. These are all dads who have all been through the operating system. And very small percentage of the guys that we have helped as well. But they've all been through it because before they start with me, lacking clarity, how I'm meant to do this, I'm spinning so many plates. We just need a better system. So this is the actual system. This is the thing that you've been looking for. And this is what I coined the operating system. Very simply, we want to break things down into big picture things. So as I said here, it's all about breaking things down into different phases. So if you think about your year, like a business in quarters. Every 3 months, you have a different phase. And that's a good way of thinking about the overall picture. You know, realistically, how it looked for majority of the guys who hire help is that when they come in here, phase one is all about priming. It's all about building momentum. You know, they've been struggling to get going and change gear. So the first 30 days is to give them the structure which is manageable, to stack wins, to see results, to gain momentum that then takes them into the second phase. Second phase is all about that big picture goal. Like, what is the most important right now? You know, is that I wanna be lean, like I want to lose 10 kilos, or is it I've got a marathon that I want to attack, or I've got a Hyrox race that I want to attack? Like, what is that big picture goal that we are getting after? Because that's the thing that we want to build momentum into and then attack full on. And, you know, depending on this goal, it might take somewhere between, you know, realistically 2 to 6 months if you're, you know, in a fat loss phase and you've got a good amount of fat to lose. You know, Josh has been that, you know, 50 kilos down in 12 months. Like, depending on how much you want to do will depend on what that goal looks like. But what I'm getting down to is, what does that look like in a second? And then phase three might be, for most people, it then turns into a performance phase where Josh is a prime example. 30 days went from lacking clarity, don't know how to get started, build momentum in the first month, then drop 50 kg, and then all of a sudden, right now I want to start running, now I want to start testing my boundaries, now I want to start saying yes to more events, yes, now I want to start unlocking more doors. That's exactly what it's all about. So then what you need to do is you break it down into them 30-day targets, and you break it down every single month. Again, manageable chunks. How do you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. So if you say, okay, the goal is to lose, let's make it easy. There is 6 squares here, 6 months. You know, the goal is to lose 12 kilos over that 6 months. What does that look? I'm going to do quick maths here. That's terrible. Let's say you want to lose 10 kilos over the next 6 months. What does that look like? Well, over 4 months, it might be a case of going, well, I'm going to lose 2.5k every single month, which is a very steady rate of loss. You know, it's not a massive amount of loss, but it's a steady rate of loss. I'm going to reverse out of that in the 5th month, i.e. maintenance, and then I'm going to enter that performance phase. So that's a great way of mapping out that first 6 months. So you know then your target for that month is to drop 2.5 kg every single month. Then you break that down even further. It's just over half a kilo every single week. So you know what your focuses are on a weekly basis, even down to the daily basis. Obviously, we can go further into this like this, where we break it down into weekly targets then, where you go, okay, if the goal is to lose 2.5 kg, again, the goal is to lose around half a kg on a weekly basis. That is our trending average that we want to be losing. But then this is where it becomes more individual. Your daily rhythms are going to come down to what your training looks like. So it might be you train here, you run here, you rest here. You train here, you run here, you rest here, and then you rest here. So you know what you're doing on a daily basis, and then every day you might have a target. So you might have a step target, you might have a nutritional target, or you might simply have like a could be supplements or anything like that. But you've got daily targets. Then when you start ticking them daily targets off, what happens? You start to build momentum. You start to see the results happening. You start to lose half a kg for that week. Then that turns into that monthly target. All of a sudden, you're 2 to 3 kilos down, and you've ticked off all your sessions, and you're feeling better. And all of a sudden, 4 months go by, and you're 10 kilos down because you know what you're doing at every single step. So that's exactly what the operating system is about. It's about not going, I haven't got the time to do all of this. It's about finding what works for you. What can you adhere to on a daily, a weekly, a monthly basis, and being dynamic and flexible with that approach. It's what we do with our training. It's what we do with our hybrid nutrition system to make it as simple as possible. And it's what we do with the operating system as well. So you know at every point in your journey, you know what you're doing and you know why you're doing it. Because I know from doing it previously is that when I know what I'm doing and what the outcome's going to be based on my inputs, I'm more motivated to do it. When you have no idea what the outcome's going to be or how to get there or what you should be doing or is it right, no wonder you're not motivated because you're just paralyzed by decisions. So hopefully you found it helpful. As I said, if you want more information on what I do, first link in the bio, you can head there and DM me the word project, and I'll fire over everything that we do inside the Hybrid project. Again, this is video 2 of a 4 or 5 part series. So if you want to check out the next video, you can find that somewhere on the screen. If it's not there yet, it will be there pretty soon. And I look forward to catching you in the next video. Peace.